Welcome back to my channel, you guys. It's a new year, 2022. I hope it's a very peaceful, blessed, and prosperous year for all of us. I'm so excited to show you today's video. I am doing a meal prep to kick off the new year, to kind of reset my mind, my body, kind of get me back to portion control and making healthier choices. So I know you guys are going to love this video, and let's get right into it. So for starters, we are going to start with the potatoes, and I am just using up potatoes I had on hand, some little baby reds, and then just one regular russet potato. I've already cleaned and washed these off, and I'm just going to cut them into bite-sized pieces. At this point, I'm also going to add in part of an onion. Well, it's actually a small onion. I just went ahead and chopped it all up to throw in with my potatoes because I love onions with potatoes. You could certainly omit this. If you don't like onions, then just leave it out. So I just chopped those all up. And I'm going to add these into a preheated cast iron skillet. I just am putting some olive oil on the bottom. I am seasoning mine with salt, pepper, and Mrs. Dash seasoning, the original seasoning. It's one of my favorites. Obviously, season these however you would like. I'm going to let these saute up, and I do pour some water in there, and then I'm going to cover them with foil because that really helps to get my potatoes nice and soft. And then when all the water evaporates, I'll crisp them up. While my potatoes are cooking to my saucepan, I am adding in 2 packages of frozen pre-cut broccoli. I just think it's so simple, especially when you're doing a meal prep like this. You could certainly use fresh broccoli or whatever you have on hand. If you don't like broccoli, then substitute a different vegetable. I am just adding in some water to this, and I'm going to let this steam on the back of the stove while the potatoes are crisping up. And to keep things uniform and simple, I am simply seasoning this again with salt, pepper, and Mrs. Dash seasoning. For my breakfast meat, I am going to use bacon. You could certainly use sausage or any kind of meat you want to have, or no meat at all if you're vegetarian or vegan. But I am using bacon strips that I pressure canned. Yes, you can pressure can bacon. Highly recommend it, especially if you find great deals. Bacon is getting really expensive now. So I love to have this on my shelf, and it's so convenient. Literally, I just pop the lid off, pull out the bag. The bacon is already fully cooked. You can crisp it back up if you'd like on a skillet, and it tastes wonderful. It tastes just like ready-made bacon, and it's already done. So I am just going to get this prepared. This is going to go directly into my meal prep containers as is. I will wipe off a little bit of that excess fat, which is the white stuff that you see there. But I'm going to put it in the container just as it is without preheating it. There's no need since I will preheat it once I heat the meal back up. Next, I am going to grate up some cheese. I had some leftover Monterey Jack and sharp cheddar that I wanted to use up, and this is going to go on top of my scrambled eggs that I'm going to add in to this meal prep. So just use whatever cheese you have on hand, or you could use just a shredded cheese blend. Now I am coming back to check on my potatoes, and as you can see, they are completely fork tender, which is how I want them. I'm going to let the rest of this liquid evaporate off of here and then crisp them up. Next, I am going to start on my scrambled eggs. This is the last component that I'm going to add into this meal prep for breakfast. And I am going to start with 8 eggs, add in a little bit of milk, and I'm just keeping this very simple with salt and pepper. Of course, you can season however you would like. I did end up also adding in a few drops of hot sauce. I probably would add a few more eggs next time just to spread it out a little bit more. But 8 eggs worked out just fine. And I did not count calories on any of these meal preps. Basically, I'm just really trying to get myself back into the groove of eating better and portion control. That's the biggest thing for myself. And because I like to live on the edge, I poured this into my flat cast iron skillet, and it worked out perfectly. So I'm just going to cook up my scrambled eggs and then begin assembling these boxes. And now the fun part begins. I'm going to assemble my little meal preps for this breakfast meal. I'm just doing it in 4 containers right now. Of course, you could do 5. I never do over more than 5, especially if I'm meal prepping the same thing for every day. But I find that 4 usually works the best for me. So I'm just going to put in my scrambled eggs, and I started putting my bacon next to those, but realized I wanted my potatoes to be next. So next I'm going to put my potatoes, layer in my bacon, and then lastly add in my broccoli. Again, you can change this up however you want. If you want sausage instead of bacon, or if you want bacon and sausage, change out the broccoli for a different vegetable if broccoli is not really what you prefer. And I did actually try to cool some of this down a little bit ahead of time before putting it in. You can see some of my things are still just barely steaming, but it was cool enough that I could handle everything. The last thing that I added on was my shredded cheese on top of my eggs. You guys, this turned out so delicious. It's so nice just to be able to reach into your refrigerator and pull out your meal. It's ready to go, ready to eat. All I have to do is heat this up. Next, I'm going to work on a couple of snacks for my meal prep. These could not be easier. So I'm going to make a smoothie bag with some raspberries, blueberries, peanut butter, and fresh spinach, and then some bananas. And I'm just literally going to pack all of this into these gallon-sized baggies. You could actually put these into sandwich-sized baggies. All the ingredients are going to go in there. I'm going to pop these in the freezer, and then this will be a ready-to-go snack or even meal replacement whenever I want it. Okay, the second snack that I'm going to show you couldn't be easier, and I think it might be my favorite of the two. I mean, I really enjoy the smoothie, but this is really delicious and it's just easy to put together. I actually found this on Pinterest off of like a Weight Watcher pin. It can be used for that. But as you can see, I'm just taking a banana and cutting it into slices. You can cut them thicker or thinner. And all you're going to do from there is just take 2 slices of banana together, and you're going to put I used peanut butter in between. I think the recipe said to use about a teaspoon. I'll link it below. You can use whatever amount you want or whatever nut butter you would like. After we get our peanut butter or nut butter in between the 2 banana slices, we're just going to melt some chocolate. It says to do it on the stove top with some coconut oil. I didn't have any coconut oil, so I just did it in the microwave. And then you just dip half of it into your chocolate mixture. And then you just want to freeze these. I flash froze them first and then pulled them out individually and put them in one baggie. And they are so delicious. The next part that I'm going to work on for this meal prep is the lunch component. And again, this couldn't be easier. I'm trying to use things that I had on hand in my refrigerator that I needed to get used up. So I just took a spinach tortilla wrap, and I have some of these Laughing Cow cheese wedges in my refrigerator I wanted to use. So I'm just going to spread that all over my tortilla. And then I also had some leftover ham and turkey that I wanted to use up. I have some baby spinach that I purchased, and I believe that was it. Of course, you could fill this up with whatever you want. You could add more vegetables, change up the cheeses, however you want to do it. But once I added on my meat and my spinach, I just rolled these up as tightly as I could without breaking them. And I actually had these spinach wraps in my refrigerator. It would probably be good to let them sit out on the counter first before you start rolling them so they don't crack on you. But once you roll them up, you just want to cut them up into pieces. I think I ended up doing them in 6 pieces. The first one I think I did, and maybe 8, but just cut it in half and then cut the remaining halves into 3 pieces. And you have these lovely little pinwheel sandwiches. And to go with those, I did add in some baby carrots and some green grapes. I had requested for my grocery pickup red grapes. They gave me green grapes, which didn't look the best. And then I also could have some little baby cucumbers, which again, they didn't pick me out the best looking ones, but I made do and just cut out any bad parts. So I just layered all those together in my little box, and then I did add in a hummus little dipping pack because I love hummus, and that was for my lunchbox. These have been so, so delicious. Finally, the last part of the meal prep is for dinner, and this recipe, you know what I'm going to say. It is so delicious. First, I'm going to start out making the chipotle cream sauce, and I'm making, what is it? Chicken burrito bowl is what I'm making. So it has a chipotle cream sauce. So I'm just using a half a cup of plain non-fat Greek yogurt. I'm going to chop up and add in 1 chipotle pepper in adobo sauce, 1 clove of minced garlic, and about a tablespoon of lime juice. If you have freshly squeezed, that's great, but or just use whatever you have on hand. We're going to mix this all together and put this in the refrigerator. The next thing that I'm going to prep for this part of the meal prep is the rice. You can use brown rice or whatever kind of rice you like. I have this lovely little rice and oatmeal cooker. It's just easier for me. I think I just made 2 cups of rice with 2 cups of liquid. I'm actually using some chicken broth that I had in the refrigerator just to give it a little more flavor. So I just set that on the appropriate timer and let that cook. For the chicken component in this meal, the recipe calls for ground chicken, but I have my canned chicken. It's this chicken and spicy broth. Again, I'm taking help from my canned goods. So I just got a couple of pints of this chicken and spicy broth and I drained them out. And honestly, they really would have been good to go as is. I did throw them in a pan and just added in a couple, very lightly added in a couple more of the spices uh, that the recipe calls for, but I think I really already had those spices within this chicken. That part wasn't really necessary, but I will have this recipe linked down below for you so you'll know exactly how to make up your chicken. So here again, I'm going to take help from my pantry where I have my own canned goods. I've got some Chipotle black beans. I pulled out some whole kernel Southwest corn, and I am going to use this as part of my meal prep, so no extra cooking required. As you can see now, my rice is completely done. It's nice and fluffy. So now I'm going to kind of let everything cool off and then start assembling this meal prep. And now for the fun part, we're just going to start putting everything into our containers. You can layer this in however you want. I just added in my chicken first, and then my black beans and rice, and then the corn. I actually had just run out of my little plastic containers for like dips and sauces, so I did put some of the jalapenos, or excuse me, the chipotle pepper sauce over the chicken on one of these just so you could see. But if you have like a little plastic cup to put that in, that'd be great to keep that separated. Of course, I would have added in some fresh cilantro on top, but again, I was out. So sky's the limit how you would want to dress this up. If you want to add in make some fresh pico de gallo or some salsa, hot sauce, however you want to do it. And I'm telling you, this one, I think this was out of all 3 for the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The dinner recipe was my favorite. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for coming along and watching me. If you did like it, please leave me a thumbs up and a comment down below if you would like to see more of these videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.